are Confessional Magazine, and this is More to the Story, brought to you today by Iris and Bo, whose toner helps keep my laugh lines in check, because you never know what our guests are going to say. Visit irisandbo.com today and use code CONFESSIONAL for 20% off.
So much love in this heart of mine.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Confessional Magazine. I'm Taylor. This is More to the Story, and I am joined here today with the one and only master comedian. This guy's entire resume is just endless. I mean, we'll get into it all, but he goes from physical therapist to comedian, and we're going to talk about this because the two don't always go together. So, Jonny, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Taylor. I would say master comedian. I'd say let's go with like trying hard comedian. Let's make it more realistic. I think that's fair. I think we'll go with that one.
Well, I mean, you're on your way up. You just had your special just came out onto the Roku Channel, and it is called Jonny Loquasto Physical Therapy. So, Jonny, can you tell me about this special that was just released?
Yeah, the phrase is very cliche, the whole long time coming thing, but that's really what this is. I mean, I started stand-up for the first time. I was on stage in 2005, right? And I shot the special in November of 2018. But then as the editing process was just about to be finished 6 months later, I had basically a dream job opportunity that took me to the opposite side of the country, and that's all I wanted to focus on. So I said, you know what? I'm going to put the special on the shelf. This is my baby. This is I guess I'll call it my grand opus over the past 13, 14 years, my love letter to comedy, physical therapy, and wrestling, you know? And so I put it on the shelf, and I said, I can't put this special out when I can't put 100% behind promoting it and all my heart into it. So, you know, my director, unfortunately, wasn't thrilled, understandably so, because she's a genius and she's brilliant and she wanted the world to see it. But then when the pandemic hit, unfortunately, that dream job was taken away. And so I reached out to my director again. We were talking. We're really good friends. We're like family. I said, why don't we try to do something with the special? So she reached out to a couple distribution companies, and we got a couple offers, looked over them. The one offer we liked the best. And so that process started almost 11 months ago, the process of like final touches on the editing, fixing a couple things, rearranging some stuff, whatever, to where we had the finished product ready to go. It was Thanksgiving weekend. And then that whole thing was like, you know, they move on into trying to sell it, you know, trying to reach out to different platforms, quality control, all the stuff that I've never been through before. Mm-hmm. All with the hope that some platforms were going to pick it up, all while I'm having no clue when the special would actually get out to the public. So you and I have been talking for what, 4 months?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. And so I was like, hey, I want to do the show. I just don't know when people can watch it. So let's pull up. And we found out about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, that Roku said yes, which was huge. That felt so good. We also found out Tubi said yes, and also Xumo, which I wasn't aware of Xumo, but I guess it's a fairly popular streaming service.
It's growing.
Yeah, which is great to know. And Tubi's already widely used, which is awesome. Oh, I was like, why is a phone making noise? That's my stupid phone next to me. I apologize. And they were waiting on a few other platforms. The thing is, we still didn't know when the special was going to get released. And so Roku kind of pulled off a pleasant surprise last week. I found out, hey, it's out there. I'm like, oh, we better get moving on telling people about this thing officially, because I've been doing little teaser clips and stuff like that. So it's a long process. Like when you're not chosen to do a special by, say, Netflix, like Netflix will say, coming March 7th, it's John Mulaney, or it's Nikki Glazer, or it's Eliza Schlesinger, whatever. When you're DIY, and you're going through the whole process yourself with your small little team, you have no idea what's going to happen, which is exciting, but also can be a little frustrating at times because you just don't know. But here we are.
Yeah. And now it's out there and people can find it on the Roku channel. That's how I watched it. And I was laughing from beginning to end, sometimes uncomfortably.
Stop it. Thank you.
So I want to know, so the name of your special is Physical Therapy, and that is because I don't know if you're still an acting physical therapist. You are.
Oh yeah. I mean, here's the thing. When the pandemic hit, like I said, I was still at the dream job. That when that got taken away, I was only halfway into my contract. And like I said, I had moved across the country and I had just moved into a new place 2 days before it happened because no one really saw a lot of this coming, obviously. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make it work. And I got my license, my physical therapy license transferred to where I'm at. And I said, you know what? It's a pandemic. Hospitals are struggling. Most of my experience over the years was in hospitals. I'm going to go back and I want to go help. I want to work. You know, when I got back there, I volunteered. They said, you know, we need some PTs to be able to work with COVID patients. I said, all right, I'll do it. You know, you just got to be really careful. You gown up, full PPE, the whole thing. And so, yeah, I did that. And I've been back on the front line for about 10 and a half months now. I mean,
Wow.
I was at the hospital earlier this week when I announced on Instagram that the special was out. I was literally in the middle of my shift. I just took a break and I'm like, well, here goes nothing. Like when you have a crazy schedule, you just find ways to segment your time and get things done. But it can be a little hectic for sure.
Right. So now are you just being a little fairy at the hospital and dropping off like Rokus to every room and then like sneakily turning on your special? So
I wish. I did collect about 25 emails from coworkers because a lot of people I already knew and they were excited to see it, but other people had no clue. So you have to kind of pick and choose who you know the cool people are who would actually like want to see it. And I did a pretty good job of that. And people have been, because a lot of people had no idea that A, I was a comedian, or B, I worked in professional wrestling. No one had any clue. They just thought like, it's just another PT in a mask. That's me. Because like I don't walk around. I know how to separate. You know what I mean? So people were pleasantly surprised. But my goal is to get this special out to, you know, the healthcare community. There's only a few comedians out there who are healthcare professionals, one, and two, physical therapists. But no one's ever put out a comedy special called physical therapy with physical therapy stories. And that's, you know, and I think any healthcare, I have a lot of nurses who watched it and they can totally relate. So I'm really like dedicating the special to not only people who love comedy, but really, you know, healthcare professionals in general, because it's been a crazy year for people working in healthcare.
absolutely. And that's a great way to connect with the people that have been giving back so much. To the healthcare community. And I myself have done in-home healthcare before.
Wow.
And some of the stories with like geriatrics, it were just, I have my own, like, it's like, you have to find the comedy in your daily job when you're in the healthcare profession. Otherwise it's daunting and it can get depressive and sad, but you can like turn that around and just make people smile and laugh. And that's what you're doing. So that's so great that this special is out there for, you know, everyone to enjoy, but especially in the healthcare community.
And that's been the interesting thing about it. You know, I've been doing stand-up off and on for 15 plus years, but it took me about 10 years to figure out how to do healthcare material on stage, because the general audience who doesn't work in healthcare, they might not get it. So it just took me a long time to kind of figure out what stories or what experiences would actually work. And then the more I got comfortable doing it, the more stuff starts kind of coming to your brain, like, oh, this might work or this might work. And then of course, the more stories you have. And so I wanted to make sure I had enough healthcare in there, but at the same time, I can't make my entire special about healthcare. You know what I mean? So
right.
About a third of the special, it's 62 minutes. I'd say about almost a third of it is healthcare driven, but I think anyone can relate to it and enjoy the stories. That's hopefully what came out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so let's talk about, how did you manage? Because your special has so many faces in it that you're watching. You're like, wait, that was, and it's just another person. Like even the camera guy, for 2 seconds, I see Clayton Froning.
Yeah. Longtime friend.
Love Clayton. He's a great guy, but I was like, whoa, I know that face too. So it's just, that is so cool that you got all of these other people in on this, and you've been so enveloped, I guess, in both the wrestling world and the comedy world, that you were able to like intertwine the two into this special. And that was really, really fun to see. So how did you first get into comedy? When did you decide like, I'm ready to step out on stage and make this a thing?
I grew up loving comedy. The show In Living Color is still my driving force behind everything I do. Even though that's sketch comedy, it hit me at the right time in childhood where I'd never seen anything like it. It was just the smartest show on television. It overstepped boundaries. It had characters that will live forever. And if you look at the cast of In Living Color, damn near all of them went on to superstardom. How many shows can you say about that? You know,
Right.
You can't say that about many shows. And so that's kind of, and plus I was a fat kid. So when you grow up as a fat kid, if you don't develop a sense of humor, you're going to be struggling. You know? So, but yeah, as far as starting stand up, I had moved across the country with some friends and I was trying to hang on to a long distance relationship that did not work. And I said, well, I don't know, I got nothing else to lose. Like, I think I want to try stand up. And so I saw there was a class at the Irvine Improv way back in the day. I took a 6-week class. We do a graduation show in front of the friendliest audience in history. You think you're the greatest for 6 minutes. And then those of us who continue to do stand-up, we realize how much we actually suck for a long time. Most people quit. People like me are too stubborn. You just keep on doing it and eventually try to find your voice. And that's kind of, what led to this. But as far as the special being so different, I got to attribute that to In Living Color once again. In Living Color had everything, so many different characters, people playing different characters. And I love variety. My album, same way. It had sketches, songs, commercials, an infomercial, intro, outro. I just love, I grew up, listening to Chris Rock Roll with the New. There's all the Adam Sandler albums, stuff like that, And so when it came time to do the special, my biggest gripe with comedy specials these days is they're just not creative. I get it. It's got to be about the person on stage. I completely understand that. But there aren't that many comedy specials that are memorable anymore. And most of them are already coming from famous people because you already know the comics. You know what I mean? And so I looked at it this way, I'm honest with myself. Most people don't know who I am. They don't know my comedy. So I'm going to make a special that shows you exactly who I am, my exact life, and to a certain extent. And I want people to remember certain things. You don't have to remember every joke, but I want you to look at this and be like, well, damn, he made an effort. And it's interesting because when I finished the special, I sent it to a friend at Netflix. And he's like, look, the special's great. He's like, number one, though, Netflix is only doing their own stuff now. They're producing their own specials. I said, I get that. I just wanted your feedback. He's like, well, I can tell you this. If Netflix were to say yes, they would automatically tell you to get rid of your entire 4-minute sketch up front. I was like, why? He's like, well, our analytics show that most audiences, if they don't see the comedian on the stage in the first 30 seconds, they will turn off. I said, cool. I don't want them. I'm like, I want the people that are looking for creativity, that are looking for heart, that are looking for effort, that want to see something different. I'm tired of seeing comedy specials that start off with, and please welcome to the stage. And then it ends with, all right, good night. And that's it. I'm sorry. That's just not my brand of comedy. That's not what I like. I think there's got to be something in there. And so that's what I did.
It was so fun. The intro, because you're following this story and it almost reminds me of, did you watch the Metallica movie Through the Never?
No.
Okay, so they're trying to make it to their gig on time, and it goes into this chaotic world force, and it kind of sends you in it, that draws you into the film. And I kind of felt that same vibe going into yours. I was like, wait, now I have to see does he make it to his show? And it's just it does pull you in, and it that. Also, if you would have taken that out, you would have missed all those little snippets of smaller humor that you get on the way into the comedy act. So I totally appreciate the story beforehand, and it wouldn't have been the same show if you had taken it out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I wanted to make sure that the sketch made sense. I wanted to make sense, and I didn't want people to feel like they were wasting any time. I feel like over the 62 minutes or whatever it is, there's not a wasted second. I wanted this opening sketch not only to tell a story, but to have punchlines. Because I know for a fact, I knew no other physical therapist had ever put out a comedy special centered around a physical therapist. There are PTs. My friend Laura Hayden, brilliant physical therapist, but has yet to put out a special. Chris DiStefano, brilliant comic, well-known comic, but he quit being a physical therapist over a decade ago because he was already successful as a comedian. I've been in the struggle. I've still been a PT for the majority of my comedy career, majority of my wrestling career. And I love it. I love working with people. I love helping people out. And I was like, well, I'm just going to make this about my life. And so luckily I have a lot of talented friends who are willing to be in it. Like I said, my director's genius. We got to use a couple different locations. We used my friend's physical therapy clinic for the one scene. We used the Whitefire Theater in Sherman Oaks, California for the other part of the scene. And then we shot at the Brea Improv. And then the commercials, we shot at my editor's green screen studio. And then I have a brilliant friend who just knows how to edit on green screen. And he made all three of the commercials, if you will. So I couldn't be more proud of it. I know comedy's subjective. It's not going to be for everyone, and that's completely cool. But I do believe anyone who watches it will say, hey, at least it was different. That's the goal.
Absolutely. It's different and it is funny. You are funny. And I know that might be hard to hear or take, but that's why you're doing this, right?
Yeah. Look, I'll take all the compliments I can get, man. Like if someone watches that special, they go, hey, at least he tried. Hey, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Like that's a compliment to me. I'm so happy with how it came out. And, you know, some things happen for a reason. Obviously, life has been weird for everyone over the past almost year and a half, but I'm so grateful that the special's out there. And gosh, I had no idea how easy it was to watch Roku. I never had Roku before. You can just download the channel for free and boom, it pops right up. I'm like, oh, this is incredible. I love it.
Yeah. And you're scrolling through and you're like right there. I'm like, well, yep, there's Jonny.
I've had people messaging me from elementary school who had no idea what I was doing in life. I've had a really amazing singer that I worked a cruise ship with about 3 or 4 years ago messaged me on Facebook. She goes, yo, my husband and I just found you on Roku. We're watching right now. I'm like, it's the coolest thing when you have people hitting you up that are just on Roku and it's that easy to find you, you know? So it's one of those things where I have no idea what's going to happen. I made sure I took expectations off of what I couldn't control. You know what I mean? Because I've done that in the past. We all have. And you just end up pissed off. You end up disappointed. The only expectations I put is on how great I can make my special and how meticulous and detailed it can be. Beyond what happens now, all I can do is have fun promoting it, talking to amazing people like you, trying to get the word out. And then beyond that, you just got to kind of like let it go out into the universe and see what happens.
Absolutely. And just get the word out there and keep pushing it out because there are so many people that are really, truly going to enjoy this. And then from there, you know, you might be getting a call from Netflix and you'll be like, I'm only doing it if I get to do my intro too. And you get to tell them how to run it.
Hey, if Netflix calls me about anything, it'll probably be like, hey, you owe us $9.99. Damn it. But no, I'll take it. Hey, if they want to put me on the back end, I'm totally okay with that. Whatever they want to do. But I'm super happy with where we're at. We're still waiting on a few more platforms, but yeah, Roku, Tubi, and Xumo. Hey, I can't complain about that at all.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. So speaking of like finding
So much love in this heart of mine.
how did you get into the wrestling world in the first place?
I'm a lifelong fan, number one. It's just something I didn't know how necessarily to get into it, you know? And so I started stand-up in 2005. And then in 2010, I was hosting this entertainment project and I just started talking with the camera guy about wrestling. A couple months later, I get a call from a gentleman, his name is David Marquez. And he said, hey, I want to meet with you at a Starbucks. I may have an opportunity for you. Okay, so we meet at the Starbucks in Sherman Oaks. And he said, I'm starting a weekly professional wrestling television show based in Los Angeles. I need someone to do interviews. I've seen your work. The camera, you know, our camera guy, mutual friend, told me about you. Do you want to do it? I was like, yep. He goes, I can't promise where it's going to go. I can't promise you're going to make any money. I was like, I don't care. I'm in. Started doing interviews for a couple of years, backstage, whatever. One thing leads to another. A couple of days before a taping, I find out I'm going to be thrown on commentary. This is about 7 years ago. So started doing color commentary. Well, then one thing leads to another. I had to do play-by-play. Boom, get into play-by-play, just kind of learning along the way. And about 2019, 9 years later, I'm just plugging away. I've worked for other companies. I had the opportunity to go to Pakistan I did commentary, hosting, ring announcing, just about everything for the first ever live professional wrestling in Pakistan's history, which is, I know it's nuts.
That's wild.
It really was. I got to go twice. Love those. Love that group. They're great. They're called the Ring of Pakistan. They're amazing. And so got to do that. Got to visit the troops in the Middle East a couple times. I created a wrestling tour called the Ringside Salute, where I would host it and I would bring with me 5 well-known professional wrestlers. We'd fly to the Middle East. Did that twice. But then in 2019, like I said, I was just living my life. And I got a phone call, and it was, WWE, and they said, there might be an opening. Can you send your stuff? And so I did. I sent, my hosting, my wrestling commentary, voiceovers, you name it. one thing leads to another. I get hired and I move across the country. And they basically said, hey, we know you're a utility guy. We needed someone who could play every position. I said, you got it. And so over the course of that year, I had the opportunity to do play-by-play on, live broadcasts, ring announcing, hosting live events, backstage interviews, digital content. And it was just crazy. Like for a whole year, I got to live that dream and experience so many amazing things. I mean, standing in the middle of Staples Center in front of 13,000 people, baffling, completely baffling. And yeah, it's been a long road, but I credit professional wrestling to, I love it. It's my favorite form of live entertainment. Like that's the funny thing. This is a comedy special, but it's also an ode to my love for professional wrestling. And people are surprised when they're like, well, how do you do both? Well, you can. If you love something so much, you dedicate your life to it. Look, I'm not married. I have no kids. So my career has essentially been my life, and there are parallels. If you're a good comic, you know how to think on the fly, you know how to think quickly, you know how to speak. Well, in wrestling commentary, you need to do that. I just know how to separate the two. I don't take the comedy into wrestling. I take them both very seriously. I keep them very separate. And that's the number one thing that I think you need to do as a commentator. And I'm so grateful for every experience I've had. And I'm looking forward to more. There's still plenty more on the horizon. It's just right now, I'm just happy to be doing the special.
You follow you on social media.
I am easy at JQuasto, JQUASTO, or you can go to quastospecial.com. All that really is a landing page. It just shows a couple of different posters from the special. There's a big old click button that takes you right to Roku. So yeah, it's simple. Go to the Roku homepage. New this month, you'll see me, Jonny Loquasto Physical Therapy, Xumo or Tubi starting Friday, July 2nd. And we're still waiting on a few more platforms, but it's simple. You can watch for free. Hopefully you enjoy it. Follow me at JQuasto. And if you have any friends who like comedy, or if you're a healthcare worker and you want to pass it along, I'm just trying to get it out there. It's a really surreal experience to be doing this after 15 years of never having a special, all of a sudden now having a special, and one that I'm just like, man, this is good. Like it's surprising.
Like I did that.
Yeah, it's very surprising. Like, wow. Like I was so, and the coolest thing is I got to do it with my friends. There are so many, it's like a rap album. There are so many guest stars on the special, and I love hip hop. So I'm like, yeah, I'm getting my friends involved. Who wants in? And it was really cool to, a lot of people watching it. They're like, oh, so-and-so popped up, or, oh, look at that. And so that's the coolest thing about it is I got to do it with a lot of really talented friends. And that's something I'll be able to look back on and be really grateful for. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So congratulations, Jonny, on your special. And everybody, make sure you're checking out Physical Therapy. Follow Jonny Loquasto and just share it all with your friends, because everybody needs a laugh, especially in these hard times and things. The world's just opening back up, but let it open back up with some more laughter. So thank you so much, Jonny, for joining me today. And I can't wait to follow the rest of your story and just, hear my friends calling me and telling me about them watching your show.
I will do the same, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon, Jonny.
Bye.
Bye.
So much love in this heart of mine.